Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Cutting Edge podcast, brought to you by ourselves here at Landell, where we talk about latest trends in the production market space, digital production market space, challenges that face customers, and sort of some of the ways we try to help them to get sort of profit back into their businesses. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Gavin Blakemore from the Plockmatic Group. I may get confused and start and say Gav from Morgana because it's where I know you from historically, and I'm delighted also to say, mate, that this is the first time that we've had anybody in our new studio. You can see I'm sitting in what looks like my granddad's chair. It was something that's caused quite a lot of controversy around the business, and actually now that we're here, it's it looks and feels actually all right. So thanks for popping in. Obviously, I know you, Gavin. Perhaps other people, viewers and listeners may well do, but for those who don't, just give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself and how you found yourself in this industry.
No problem. Nice to be here, Jason, and I'm glad to be the first one to use your new studio. And the chair's very nice. uh, I'm Gavin. I work for the Morgana part of the Plockmatic Group. I've been with them for about 13 years. Obviously, Morgana and Plockmatic are predominantly for digital finishing products within the industry, and I head up the UK sales team as the UK National Sales Manager. Um, yeah, Background is a bit long-winded, but I started life actually in litho print, working for a company called AB Dick. After doing my apprenticeship in print, became an engineer with them, and moved through to actually digital type presses with the DI when Presstech merged. And the management team of Presstech went to Morgana, and I joined Morgana. So it's kind of a following around of people.
Yeah, no, excellent. I mean, for me personally, I graduated in the year 2000. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with myself when I grew up. So decided to put a CV into some large corporates, and I lived in Uxbridge at the time, and Xerox were in Uxbridge, and here I am, 25 years later, nearly, still trying to decide what I'm going to do when I grow up. But met a lot of people along the way, like yourself. Lots of good people in this industry. I think it's a bit of an exciting time within this industry, that whereas there's an opportunity to get some fresh blood in. I think that we've got the opportunity for that litho transition as well. Now, one of the things that I'd like you to clear up, because you only cleared this up with me recently,
Yeah.
was the kind of the structure within the business. So obviously, Plockmatic, for me, I would have known a Plockmatic of being historical, people, the booklet making and that sort of stuff, and Morgana, which we were discussing a good old Smouty a minute ago,
Yeah.
someone from back in the day who I had an awful lot of time for. Someone, he made life fun when I was dealing with him.
He was
Character.
a walking joke book.
He was a
That's
walking
the
joke
way
book.
describe
He
it,
was a
yeah,
walking joke book. I remember he presented at one of
yeah,
our year start kickoff meetings once at Xerox, um, and he stood up on the stage and didn't talk about anything to do with the products. He literally told jokes for half an hour, and in the end we had to try
yeah.
to
Probably finished it on "If in doubt, call Smelt."
yeah, that's it. That's exactly how he finished it. Yeah, you've got it.
Yeah.
But on the sort of the structure, and you alluded to it a little while ago. Do you want to just give us a bit of
Of
a
course.
description overview of how the group works?
Yeah, so interesting setup. So, Plotmatic as a company were established back in, so that's its 50-year anniversary this year. So 50 years ago they established, and they moved quite predominantly into manufacturing booklet makers, specifically for the main engine suppliers, for the likes of Xerox and Ricoh and people like that. And that's where they built their business. So they were kind of like a brand in the background, if that makes sense. So people would purchase a Xerox or a Konica or a Ricoh, and there would be parts of that were built by Plotmatic. Now, the Morgana side of the business, we're a UK manufacturer. So that's where I joined. I joined Morgana. They've got a factory in Milton Keynes, and they were building creasing machines and folding machines. And they started life 50 years ago as well, funny enough. And Paul and Andrew, who started the company, decided to retire. They've done very well, very successful. They've a lot of patents and technologies. They invented the digifold machine with creasing and folding technology. They invented the creasing technology with the male and female matrix. So there was a lot of things that they'd done really well, had a really successful business, known for build quality. The machines were built way beyond the spec of what they actually needed to be most of the time. And part of the retirement plan for them was they wanted to sell the business, but they wanted to keep the business as a manufacturer. So Plotmatic being a manufacturer as well, it worked very well because they were manufacturing booklet makers and inline. Morgana were producing offline products that were ancillaries that were required for digital print. So they merged together.
Yep.
The company have grown quite a lot since that merger, and we've been doing it through acquisitions, mergers, R&D, and things like that. So we also acquired Watkis, who are another UK manufacturer of a very high quality booklet makers, the Power Square range.
Yep.
Uh, it was quite a nice synergy for Morgana because Morgana were actually the first ever Watkis dealer
Right.
when they had their rotary collating machines way back. So there was a lot of connection between the two businesses anyway. We worked on products together. We had the DocuMaster system,
Yeah. Yeah.
which was a creasing and folding machine feeding into a booklet maker. So it was front end was Morgana, second section was actually Watkis. So we knew each other very well. And then just recently we've also acquired Intech, another UK company,
Yes. Yeah.
who were down in Bournemouth, and they produce. Well, they were doing a bit of digital print as well, which we no longer do because obviously our connection with the partners.
Yeah.
But we actually have a range of die cutting type machines, which are like flatbed type machines, and also a unique one called the SC 6000, 7000 range, which are low cost but high productivity and very versatile machines.
Excellent. Something for us to talk about in a little bit more detail, I guess, on that front. So one of the things you touched on a minute ago there was the Watkis, the power square. Um, and sort of speaking to some of the guys in our office, and when I talk about inline finishing, offline finishing, nearline finishing, it throws questions around what the differences kind of are. But one of the key things for us, we're completely independent, so we partner with all of the leading manufacturers of those digital engines, as well as the finishing partners like yourselves. But whether it be a Xerox, a Canon, a Ricoh, a Konica, or a Fuji machine, on the back end, what you've done very, very cleverly, I believe, is the inline finishing of the something like that. What is the Power Square, which is designed in a way that makes it appear to be the actual product.
Yes. So, well, interestingly, the Power Square is an interesting one because the Watkis brand, their machine was predominantly sold to Xerox and Canon. It is the main parties for going inline, but they just sold a lot of offline. With the Plockmatic side, they took a different approach of actually we work with the R&D departments in the actual suppliers themselves. So if you imagine we go to Ricoh's R&D department in Japan
Yep.
and we work directly with them and the machine is so integrated it's actually talking to the machine completely. So from the perspective of a machine, it is part of a Ricoh engine.
Yep. Yep. And actually, from an aesthetic perspective,
Yep,
it is coloured in the same way so that it appears to actually
exactly.
be.
Yeah, and there's big reasons for that. It's one, the brand identity for the actual providers themselves, the engine. So if it's a Ricoh or Konica or Xerox, I don't want to miss anybody out. We
That's
also
fine,
do
no
we
problem.
also do Canon and Sharp,
Yeah,
and we
yeah,
just
yeah.
signed up with Kyocera and Riso. So you know we're always adding
Everyone, yep, yep.
new vendors. Um, when they supply a product, it's their product.
Yeah,
So from the sales guy's point of view, he's walking into that place and he's supplying his engine and his finishing and everything all in one go. Their technical support as well. They're trained, they look after it, they support it just the same as they would do the print engine.
yep.
So the inline side of things is quite slick.
And so what you just mentioned there around, like, you go over to Japan with the likes of Rico and discuss things with their R&D department, etc. How do you identify? Is that through sort of the partnership with each of the different brands in terms
Exactly.
to identify what you need for that inline finishing?
Yeah. So we are given a specification requirement. So we know what the next development is in the engine. So a classic example is a lot of the engines went to do longer sheets.
Yeah,
That was a big move for them all.
yeah.
Of course, booklet makers at the time were doing A3 to A4 and A4 to A5.
All of a sudden you've got
All
landscape.
of a sudden, you've now got to do landscape, yeah,
Yeah.
and longer sheet. So we developed the next generation of products that enabled longer sheet capability, A4 landscape, and all of our products have always had a square back spine
Hmm.
and thick book capability.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
minimum 35 sheet up to 50 sheet.
Yep, 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 yeah. And so, in terms of, do you have? Because I mean, that's crucial in terms of the spine and the pagination, the amount of pages you can get through. Because on the inline booklet making that you may have from those other manufacturers is very, very much less than that.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's part of the criteria. It's not always so much how many pages either. This is something people don't quite get. It's the overall thickness.
Thickness, yeah,
So it allows you to do more pages of a heavier weight stock
yes,
or an
or
increased
heavy
cover.
stock,
Yeah,
yeah, cover, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
and again, that's something that adds a big benefit to the actual feel. adds value to the product.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course. And any statistics that you may have around sort of the number of installations across the UK, or the how you've helped with clients and
Yeah, I mean, in terms of installations, that's a bit of a finger in the air because obviously the way we sell, I'll explain the situation. So that when we build the booklet makers at our factory, once they leave the production line, they go to an allocated area. From that point on, they are owned by the engine manufacturer. So whether it be Rico's, and they even arrange pickup and collection from that point, and they go to their central distribution
yeah,
in Venlo or wherever it may be. So then they're obviously just ordering it on their system as part of their print package. So they go to it. We don't know exactly where they've all gone. What I can do is I can tell you how many machines each one are buying. So we're doing in excess of 1,200 booklet makers a year. So
wow.
we're probably the biggest booklet manufacturer in the world.
And that leads me on to what I was going to say. So 1,200 booklet makers a year in an industry that some people are saying is kind of maybe dying out to a degree. I recently went over to Drupa. I don't know if you were there.
I was there for the full
Yeah.
show.
So
Yes.
okay. Yeah. So I was there for. I missed a couple of days. Was suffering when I returned. Was
Yes.
very ill. Because I was actually ill. It wasn't just because of the evening activities. But it leads me on to sort of saying, where do you see the industry over the next 3 to 5 years as an example?
Automation.
Yeah.
It's automation. And it's also down to this is where the inline products have been so successful. The skill set of the operators is decreasing.
Yeah.
And it's not any detriment to people that are in the industry. It's just the fact of nature. I was explaining just earlier to you guys, I started life, I did an apprenticeship, I learned ink on paper and darkroom and film. All that stuff's disappeared because by now we just actually send to it as a digital device.
Yeah.
So the skill sets that are there in the background that you knew for print have disappeared. People want the ease now of just walking up, jobs out, finished, done. So by producing everything in line in one device, it's a single operator, very low skill set, and it's all automated in one go.
And I think if we move away and start looking at the other side of that in terms of not actually on the printers themselves, but start looking at the people that are servicing them, that's becoming an aging
It's a
force
big,
of engineers. So by automating and making things far more reliable,
yeah,
that helps with the reliability there as well, doesn't it?
exactly,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
what about sort of any sort of words of wisdom from yourself that you'd like to offer? Because despite the fact that you clearly look an awful lot younger than me, you're not. And so just to rub it in and just to get it in there, mate, because people will be thinking that. So yeah, so you've been around the industry for a very long time, mate. Have you got any sort of words of wisdom for our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, I think we need to sing the praises of our industry.
Yeah.
This is something we don't do. We tend to defend ourselves. And actually, print as a product is very, very beneficial. So you take a printed item and it's active for a much longer time than a digital product.
Yep.
So, a classic example of a little story I heard that I thought was very clever. A letter gets sent through or a flyer gets sent to you. It's active. So it's like you opening an email. It comes through your door. You look at it, you read it, you put it on the side. It's still active. Next person walks past, picks it up, has a quick look. It's active again. And it's active for a much longer period of time than something like an email. So an email you'll read and go delete. Some you don't even read, dump in the bin.
Yep. Yep.
It's environmentally friendly. We grow trees as a crop to make paper, and we plant more trees than we actually cut down. So it's environmentally friendly. Paper itself is easily recyclable. I think there's something 8 times you can recycle a piece of paper and it's still got its properties. So there's massive benefits for print, and we don't sing the praises enough. We kind of defend it. People go, "Oh, paper and ink, it's bad for the
That's a
environment."
good point.
But we should sing its praises.
Yeah.
And I think we need to bring younger people into it. This is
Yes.
the biggest problem we have is, I think, as an industry, we are an aging generation and new people need to come in. We're always at the forefront of most of the digital technology. You think of every design studio that's designed, they've always got the latest Mac, the latest software, the latest design.
Yes.
We are
yeah,
at
yeah.
the front.
Yeah.
Always. I mean, I come from running in the showroom at Demonstrator back in my days when I was at Presstech.
Yeah.
And we always had to keep our Apple Macs and software up to date, because if one person came in, they got the latest version,
You're behind
we're
the eight ball straight
behind.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a very market leading industry, and it covers big sectors: packaging, marketing, social media. It's all included.
It's huge. I mean, I saw some statistics, and I don't want to quote them in case I get them wrong in terms of the numbers, but the actual print industry is bigger than the motor industry and bigger than the gaming industry. And if you just look around, it's amazing things that you wouldn't think about.
Prints everywhere.
everywhere on a car, a number plate on a
I
car.
just go point out this microphone, the writing on the side,
Yeah, there we go.
is printed on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything around you has something printed. People
Yeah.
say print's dying. No, it's changing.
Yeah, it's changing. That's right. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Listen, Gavin, I've really appreciated you coming in today. Before we sign off, just want to ask you whether you'd like to share anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I come from print finishing, so obviously for me now, the core for me is finishing of a product. And a little phrase that I heard that I think should really stick in everybody's mind: it's the last thing you do on the job, but it's the first thing the customer sees.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
And I
Something
like
else
that
you
phrase.
mentioned. Yeah, you
Yeah,
mentioned that
yeah.
previously to
Everybody
me.
worries about the stock, the print quality, this and that, but how you finish that. You turn it into a product,
That's
and it's
right.
the first thing somebody sees.
Yeah, and that's when it becomes a saleable product for our clients. Final request from ourselves and from
Yes,
me. This is something which has come through from our marketing team, but we'd like to ensure that we ask put you on the spot a little bit,
it's
and
fine.
we want you to ask a question for our next guest, and you got away with this one because we didn't ask the last person to do it.
Okay.
So if you can, if what can you come up with a question for us to ask our next guest, which we might probably start the next one
Yeah,
off with.
sure. If I was going to ask a question within the print industry, the first thing I think I'd like to ask them is what are they doing to encourage youngsters to join the industry?
Yeah, nice, like the
I think
question.
that's a great thing to do.
Yeah.
We do a lot ourselves as a manufacturer. We team up with colleges and things like that. I think we all need to do as much as possible to encourage the younger generation to
I,
keep this great industry going.
I couldn't agree more. We're doing it here ourselves as well. We've got we've got apprentices on our help desk in our service team. We've got youngsters coming in working in our telesales department with a view to obviously progressing to move on with their careers. And it's a career that's
It's done me
it
30 years.
hasn't done me
Yeah,
too bad.
yeah,
25 years, like I say, still trying to find out what I want to do when I grow up.
yeah.
But for
I'm
now,
still trying
mate.
to grow up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. For now, mate. Thanks ever so much again,
No, it's
and
my
I hope
pleasure.
to look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, definitely. It's my
Cheers, mate.
pleasure. Thanks.